Alright, today we're going to throw together a quick little calculation program. So I'm just going to create a new project, which again may be a little different depending on what version you're using. Make sure that it is Visual Basic. Depending on the program, it may default to something else, but Visual Basic, Windows, and I'm going to go for a Windows Form app here. And voila. And I'm just going to call this calculations. And boom. So what we're going to practice here is simply just, here we go. What we're practicing here is just simply putting numbers into some fields, some text boxes, doing some math, saving them in the variables, and then getting some results back, doing a little math with those variables. So the first thing we need to do is just drag a couple of items on here that we're going to need. So one of the first items, well, let's say we should do some multiplication, some addition, and some subtraction, perhaps. So we'll have a little bit of those operations. So let's just drag some text boxes. We'll do 3 of these. And something along the lines of that. Doesn't have to look perfect. We're just trying to make it do what we want to do. So we'll have a little button for calculation. So we're going to put our numbers in, and they're going to multiply, add, or whatever by another number that we put in. So we're going to throw in a couple more text boxes. If I can grab them, there we go. So I'm simply just going to drag a couple of these here. And we'll set the name once we get everything on there. We'll have a little label in between, and that label will be, times, plus, minus, just showing what we want to do with it. So, there we go. So the first one should multiply this box by that box. And we're going to have a little label on the side that's going to basically result in the answer. Now we could use a text box, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use a label. And that'll be the actual result of that math. And I suppose we could do a little grand total type thing. So I'll just throw that label down here as well. There we go. We got us a nice little setup here. First things first, name all the little boxes here. So I'll just call this Molt1. It's a text box, so TXT, Molt1. There we go. This will be TXT Molt2. This will be, of course, TXT, we'll call it add. 1. And I want to keep things consistent, so we'll capitalize that. This will be TXT add 2. And we'll call this TXT sub 1. TXT sub 2. That way we have each little box named we pull from them. The label, we'll just call this LBLX. And for the actual item that's going to be displayed, we'll scroll back. Well, before we do that, let's just keep it here and go ahead and name all of them. It's honestly just simpler to just stick with one operation. It's going to stay right here, so LBL plus. Well, actually, I can say, let's call it add, and we'll just call this mult instead of x. That way we have some consistent names here. This is LBL sub. And my guys over here will be LBL molt total. LBL add total. LBL sub total. And then we'll just have a grand total kind of here. We're just going to add all the numbers together, just so we can see how that works. So I just call it grand total, like so. Now I just have to change the actual text for each one of these. And you'll see right here, text under appearance. If I don't scroll too far from it, there you go. That's just going to be an X. This is going to be a minus, or plus rather. And this will be a minus. There we go. And I can kind of rearrange those so they look a little nicer. I could change the font size, I suppose, if I want to, but it's fine. Really, we can come in here and just adjust that if we don't think it's big enough. I'll make it a little bigger, just to make it a little prettier. And a little X, which in computers, by the way, we don't generally use the X for things. We use the star, but there you go. Although it looks like it's progressively bigger as we go up for some odd reason. Maybe I'll just adjust that size just to make it look a little bit more in line with everything else. Alright. Those are kind of lined up. Close enough. Alright, and we got some font here. This is just going to be our end result, so it shouldn't really have anything in it, so I'm just going to leave it blank for now. I could put a little equal sign there, I suppose, initially, but it doesn't really matter. I'll just leave it blank. And the grand total, like so. And my button should be calculate, and we'll just call it BTN calc. There we go. Now, essentially, we have a nice little GUI set up. Well, somewhat nice. And we're going to do a little bit of math here. So I put in some numbers. The first one should multiply and put that total there. The second one should add these two boxes and put the number there, and then we'll subtract, put the number there. And then we'll have a grand total that just adds those totals up. Now for this, we're going to need some variables. And to help out with this a little bit, let's pull up my good old magnifier, make this a little simpler. So when I click on this button, I'm going to have to grab things from those boxes. I'm going to need some variables. Now I can set them up. Dim is pretty much any variable I want. I've got a mult, I've got an add, and a subtract, right? So we'll just call it, and you can do all these at once too if you want. Mult, we could say add, we could do several at once. I kind of personally prefer just to do it in one go as integer. And it's complaining for a minute, but that little underline's not really an error, more of just you haven't used this yet. So dim, we'll call it add as integer. Dim sub as, and actually wait, I don't think I can use sub because sub is a reserved word. Reserved words like private, you know, as, dim are words you aren't allowed. So I just call it sub t as integer. There we go. So I just have a couple of variables. then I'm going to put those in. Now let's just say, actually, let's make this the mult total, the add total, and the sub total. And I'll just make one more, dim grad total. Now I'm using integer here. I probably could use double or something else, but we're just going to keep it integers. If I was doing anything involving money, these would be doubles, or singles, most likely doubles. But since I don't really care, it's just whole numbers, we're just practicing, then integer is fine. But I could make this a completely different thing and allow decimal places if I wanted to do that. Alright, there we go. So when I click on this button, it'll make these variables. Now I need to pull the two text boxes. So mult total equals, and this is where I have to snatch up text boxes, right? So we got text mult dot text, so whatever's in that thing, times text mult 2 dot text. So I should take whatever's in this box, multiply it, that box, put the answer in this variable here. And we do the same exact thing. Well, actually, let's go ahead and label mult total dot text equals mult total. So what we're going to do is do the math, plug it into this variable, and then take that variable and just display it on the screen in that little label that we made. Then we just got to do the same thing for all the others. So first and foremost, add is next. So add total, and we just say, text add 1 plus dot text. We have to tell it specifically that we're trying to get the text that's in that box, plus text add 2 dot text, and the same thing, LBL add total equals add total. Sorry, LBL dot text. There we go. And you'll see I had a little error there. And if we hover over that, local variable, let's just move down a little bit. Variable of type integer cannot be converted to a label. So this is an integer, that's a label, the label itself, not the text of the label. So I can plug in a number into the label. It's text, but I can't change the actual object to something else. That's what it's complaining about. So we move on to sub total equals text sub 1 minus sub 1 dot text minus text sub 2 dot text. And you'll see the use of naming txt LBL at the front makes it a lot easier to find these things. So we move on to the last little bit, and that is the LBL add total dot text is equal to that subtotal. And finally, we just have to do the grand total, which is grand total. We're just going to add everything. Equals mult total plus add total plus sub total, just to do it. And the LBL grand total dot text, and notice it's capitalized. See that? Equals grand total. Voila. So if we did this correctly, when we click on our button, it should, do all the math and stuff that we want. So I've got everything here. I pull it up. We're going to need to run it, and my run button's a little above the window here, so I'm just going to say go. And we wait patiently while it compiles, makes all the files we need. And my virus scan flips out, apparently. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. Just go away. Yeah, good news, it's safe. Yes, I know. I wrote the program. I'm pretty sure it's safe. Alright, so we'll put in, let's say, 5 and 5. Oh, it should be noted that the tab order, by the way, will be whatever order you put boxes and items on. I put these on first, then I put a button down, then I threw some more down. So if you notice, the tab order goes that way. You can't actually change that in the properties, though. 5 and 5. Let's just go 5 and 5. So if I hit calculate, we should get 25, 10, 0, and then a nice little 35, I think, down here. Oh, we got completely different results than I expected here. And we didn't get anything here, and now we've got 80. So that means I done screwed something up. And it doesn't matter how good you are. This is a good example of you're going to screw something up. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 plus 5 should be 10. 5 minus 5 should be 0, but I have a 0 here, so maybe I mislabeled my label somewhere. Let's see. Oh, wait. 5 plus 5. Oh. And I also see a little bit of an issue here. There we go. Since I didn't put anything in those actual labels, it's kind of complaining here. So let's see. My name. What was this one called? We'll find out what the problem is. Text. And name. Did I misname them? Would be my question here. So let's see. And I totally know I'm just rolling right by that name like 5 times. But I shall find it. Text. And the name should be down here. Where are you? Why? You should be LBL. In this case, I guess this should be add total, right? So as to where you are, I'm not sure. Come on, let's see. Data bindings, true, top left. I am not finding my name for some odd reason. But I know I've set them. Well, it may be because it's highlighted more than one. That's probably why. So let's click on this. Yeah, there we go. LBL add total. I'll highlight that. LBL subtotal. Okay, that looks like that's right. LBL molt total. Alright, I think all my labels are right. That's LBL grand total. So let's look at our code and see what we messed up. Because we definitely messed something up. So molt definitely works. Add. Text in the first add, text in the second add. We do a plus. Okay. We do text there, and we throw that into the variable, or throw the variable into that text box. Come back here. There we go. Check it out. That should be sub. Alright, well, let's fix that. I misnamed that for sure. Grand total is molt total plus. Okay, so let's see if that little fix helps a little bit. I don't think it's going to fix everything, though. So we'll run a program. I'll put in a 5 and a 5, a 5 and a 5, a 5 and let's just go with 1. Okay. Now, there is one issue here you may notice, and that would be my 5 and 5 say 55. They don't say 10, which is what it should do. This worked, that worked, and 55 plus that is 80, plus 4 is that. So the big question here is why the add plus add ends up being 55. There's probably 2 or 3 reasons that could be possible, so let's take a look. First, let's look at my design form. Make sure my names are right. Text 1 add. Oop, text 2 add. Alright, that should be good. So, if we take a look at my add, I'm doing this. Text 1 add plus text 2 add. Now, what is probably happening here is there's a little something called concatenation. So it's actually doing the math here and here, but instead of doing the math here, it's treating them both as text and just taking a 5 and putting a 5 right next to it. And usually that's done with the plus operator, so we're going to have to fix that. So to fix that, let's see what we can do. Instead of plus, instead of dot text, is there any other thing here? Let's see that we can set up. Index long, min, length, count. Oh wait, here we go. We've got a couple of items here to choose from. So let's see if we have any sort of conversion. Sum. That might convert it to an integer, but I don't really want to use that. Split, skip, single. Max, give us the biggest value in that text box. Equals. And we don't want to concatenate. That's what we're doing automatically, I think. So let's move on down. I was hoping there'd be something that would convert it to an integer, but min value, reverse, single, Sum sounds like it would be something that would convert it to an integer, but toString converts it to a string. Well, I definitely want the text box. And you'll see every time you hit a period on anything, there is a tremendous amount of things you can do to it. And one of those is toString and text length and various other things. So one of these items is going to get us where we need to go. Let's just go back and put it at text. I'm going to try a different number to do a little test. Whenever you have errors, things that you're not sure of, it always helps to run a couple of different variations. So 1 and 1, 1 and 1. If I'm correct, that should put 11 there. 2 and 0. Well, that seems to be the case. So we just have to fix our little add problem here. It's very possible we could do a little bit of some parentheses work, perhaps. And maybe it won't concatenate. Let's see. And I could be completely wrong. But that is programming, of course. And I am. So, I guess this is a good example of when you run into a problem, search it. You don't always have the answer. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head how to fix this particular issue. So, Visual Basic. Adding to text boxes. Let's take a quick check. And I'll keep this in the video because it's pretty instructive whenever you run into a problem, how to fix it. Now, that is what I did, and obviously that concatenated it. So let's see what the answer is. You need to convert the value text fields into numbers. Yes, that is true. So what do I need to do? Oh, here we go. There is an option called val, which gets the value of a text box. There's cint, which I believe will convert it to an integer. Let's use that one. So convert it to an integer. And actually, I should probably do that for every one of those, honestly, just to be consistent. So we'll do this. And we'll take these text boxes, and I will say cint, parentheses. We'll just like that. And I'll just cint, parentheses, like that. Alright, if I did that right, it won't freak out on me. And then I can just kind of copy and paste to each of these items. This is okay, it's just when I want to take a value and put it into a variable, that's where I have my issue. So we'll just copy and paste. Now, copy and paste can be a fantastic time saver, as you can see. But if I do it incorrectly, put it in the wrong place, for example, you end up, breaking your program, like this. Alright, if I did this right, cint is going to let us convert that to a number instead, so the plus should do its little adding. So we'll run. We'll go 5 and 5, 5 and 5, 5 and 5. Boom, there we go. 25, 10, 0. Add those three together, we get 35. Ta-da! So we did some multiplication, some addition, some subtraction. If I wanted division, it would simply just be that symbol there. You've also got two different powers, which is the caret symbol here. But if we add all the little symbols, plus, minus, division, multiplication, and then, let's see, I think that's most of it pretty much. So these are typically the math operators you can do in any kind of program, whether it's Visual Basic, Java, or anything else. Even Excel, these are the operators for multiplication, division, subtraction, addition, up to the next power, and that sort of thing. So with this, our code works. We had to make a few adjustments, but that's okay. That's to be expected. We got a little form with everything set up, and I'm pretty sure it runs. Now there are some issues that are going to happen. For example, if I try to not put anything in these boxes, it's going to crash. Boom, because it's trying to do math on empty boxes. There are ways to fix that, but we're not worried about that just yet. We're just going to kind of assume that the person's not going to do something dumb. And as we're the person writing it, I'm going to assume that we are not going to do anything dumb. So there you go. There is our little calculator program. Does a little bit of math. This should get us set up, hopefully nicely, for our project we're going to have pretty soon.